Newsman Robert Redford falling for rising star Michelle Pfeiffer in Up Close and Personal. Scandal rocks the movies in Heidi Fleiss, Hollywood Madam. And a harebrained kidnapping turns to murder in the comic thriller Fargo.
Cover the White House.
You can tell me you watched me in high school?
No, you're the one who asked George Bush how, as former CIA director, he didn't know Noriega was on the CIA payroll.
Robert Redford plays a local TV news director who takes a liking to a would-be reporter played by Michelle Pfeiffer in Up Close and Personal, one of 5 new films we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel Ebert, including a new picture about the Hollywood Madam, Heidi Fleiss, and also a dark comedy about a gutsy, pregnant police chief. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Our first movie is Up Close and Personal, and forget about the notion that this movie is in any way a behind-the-scenes look at TV, like network or broadcast news. It's not. This is a love story, pure and simple, and as a romantic movie, it works. Take Robert Redford and Michelle Pfeiffer and put them in any other colorful industry, and the movie would work just as well as the story of an ambitious young woman and the experienced older man who becomes her mentor.
Rob can't stretch. She's on in 7 seconds. 6.
Tell me a story.
4, 3, 2.
2 men drowned today off Miami Beach. Raul Soto and Domingo Katz did not belong in the luxurious cabanas that line this stretch of the beach. They jumped ship. They wanted to come to America, and they died 25 feet from what they must have seen as the promised land.
Joe Mantegna is the hotshot broadcast talent agent who takes Pfeiffer under his arm and engineers to get her into bigger markets with maybe even a shot at a network position. He turns to Redford for help when Pfeiffer stresses out in her new job.
It occurred to me, you might want to be up there for a period of time.
Last I heard, I still had a job here.
Oh, yes, and I see that it keeps you very busy. What if I can arrange a leave?
Stockard Channing is right on the money as the older anchorwoman who will eventually fall to Pfeiffer's rising star.
What does it take to jump off the high board?
You get to be 42, you don't have to ask. It's not your fault, you know that. It's not anybody's fault. This is the way it works.
The movie's clever in the way it doesn't immediately have Pfeiffer and Redford fall in love. Having been married before, Redford is reluctant to commit again.
I want you around in the morning.
You already have me around in the morning. How, I don't know, but you do.
I want to know you're legally required to be there.
I was sort of surprised after seeing Up Close and Personal that the screenplay is by Joan Didion and John Gregory Dunn, who are usually involved with more hard-boiled projects. Then I found out that in his first draft, this was a much more serious story based on the life and death of Jessica Savage. Obviously, it's been softened up a whole lot into a love story, and the ending is quite different. I'd like to see the Jessica Savage story handled seriously in a movie that could still be made, because it sure isn't this one. But I also enjoyed the movie that has been made. Michelle Pfeiffer and Robert Redford make a warm-hearted, convincing couple, and Up Close and Personal has a lot of charm as an old-fashioned movie romance.
Yeah, well, I didn't buy it at all. I didn't buy the romance, and certainly now here, I want to just conceptually, you'd have to agree that if the movie were more convincing in its television material, it would be a better movie. I mean, in other words,
it'd be a different movie.
No, wait a second.
But this movie isn't about television.
Wait a second, Roger. You've been involved in local television news. I've been for 21 years. I'm telling you the stuff that's in here is cornball, flat-out cornball, clang, clang, clang. We had a picture of this last year, To Die For, a better, insightful film about television news.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, it was a better film.
It's not that hard to do.
I'm trying
to... They fail there,
yes.
and I wanted to say...
You're reviewing the wrong movie,
No, I'm not.
No, you've talked enough.
I've talked about the problem of this picture.
Go ahead.
I've talked about the problem of this picture. I also don't believe the romance. I did not believe that they connected in any way. I've seen Redford connect with women much better.
I absolutely did. I thought they had wonderful chemistry here. I absolutely believe that they liked each other, but there was a tension that was building toward the end of the picture.
Don't you know exactly where it's going to go?
Well, I wasn't born yesterday.
So then, but you're
it's a
saying
love story. At the end of the movie, they're in love. Where did you expect it to go?
No. It wasn't there. They get there rather quickly, I thought, in the middle of the picture.
They delay. There's a whole lot of flirting going on.
They can't do it in the first scene.
Well, Gene.
But he's attracted to her in the very first scene.
Gene, what you haven't seen here is the movie that's right there on the screen that people are really going to enjoy.
No, because I found fault and you agreed that there were faults, so we both saw the same picture. Okay, next movie. In our next film, and we're looking at a picture that has been surprisingly successful now in its initial release. It's the Muppet Treasure Island film, and this is a first for me because Muppet Treasure Island is the only Muppet movie to date that has absolutely bored me. The story has Kermit and his crew battling pirates for buried treasure. The lead bad guy, Long John Silver, is played by Tim Curry in his first dull performance in years.
There's many a dark-hearted scoundrel in these ports.
What do you mean, pirates? Pirates? Oh, that's rich. Pirates? What an imagination. Give me a cracker.
Allow me to introduce my pet lobster, Polly.
Pieces of eight, pieces of eight.
Yes, Miss Piggy makes an appearance, but it's too little too late for me. She's the Treasure Island's Queen Bee, or is it Queen P?
Come, Flaubert. Flaubert! Get away, you stupid anteater! You spoiled my entrance! Knock it off!
Will little kids be bored by Muppet Treasure Island? I know two who were, but I can't say if all of them will be. But I am sure that parents will be bored. This movie does not compare with previous Muppet pictures. I think this franchise needs some tending to, in my opinion.
And I'm in agreement with you here, Gene, and I have liked the Muppet pictures too, and this one just kind of blah. I mean, it didn't have a story that really carried me along. The Miss Piggy had some good lines.
Late comes on in the third act.
They have that little convention that the Muppets seem to exist in the real world and have contemporary references, and that's always kind of a little shock and sort of funny when it happens. But basically, you're right. It's just not one of the better Muppet
And you know why?
pictures.
Because we want it to either be all Muppets. We don't want the humans there.
No. There have been humans in every single Muppet movie. You said you liked them all. There have been humans in every one.
No, what I'm saying is, in this picture, the whole world of them would be more interesting than the guys. There's not a villain that you really care about here?
No.
Okay.
Okay, when we come back, Frances McDormand and William H. Macy in Fargo, the new movie by the Coen brothers.
I'm not arguing here. I'm cooperating.
Okay. Are you sure?
I guess that's it then. Here are the keys.
No, that's not it, Jerry.
Huh?
The new vehicle plus $40,000.
Yeah, but the deal was the car first, then the $40,000, like as if it was the ransom.
That's William H. Macy as a desperate car salesman talking to a couple of tough guys he's hired to kidnap his wife. It's going to be a lot more complicated than any of them realize. The story, based on a real-life case, is told in Fargo, the just about perfect new movie by the Coen brothers, Ethan and Joel, whose credits include Blood Simple and Barton Fink. Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare play the two hired killers who plan to split the ransom with the car dealer.
Hey, look at that, Twin Cities. It's the IDS building, the big glass one, tallest skyscraper in the Midwest after the Sears in Chicago or John Hancock building, whatever. You never been to Minneapolis?
Nope.
Would it kill you to say something?
I did.
No. It's the first thing you've said in the last 4 hours. That's a fountain of conversation, man.
Following the kidnapping, the guys get pulled over and do some shooting, and the next morning, we meet Frances McDormand playing the pregnant local police chief.
You see something down there, Chief?
No, I just think I'm gonna barf.
Jeez. You okay, Margie?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just morning sickness.
Meanwhile, Macy's plan to cheat both the kidnappers and his father-in-law gets derailed when the father-in-law, who owns the automobile dealership, insists on delivering the ransom himself.
These guys are dangerous.
All the more reason. I don't want you... With all due respect, Jerry, I don't want you mucking this up.
Macy feels the net closing in on him as the naive-seeming policewoman asks him some pointed questions.
And I was just wondering if you'd had any new vehicles stolen off the lot in the past couple of weeks. Specifically a tan color Sierra. Mr. Lundegaard.
William H. Macy is brilliant as the bankrupt car salesman who finds his plan going terribly, disastrously wrong. And always at the middle of the movie is Frances McDormand, a mild-mannered, friendly, even chirpy police chief who doggedly figures everything out. It is a great performance, and Fargo is the best movie the Coen brothers have ever made, a quirky, infectious American masterpiece.
Well, you know, last year, back in January, I said I didn't think I'd expect to see a better film all year than Crumb.
Yeah.
And I didn't. It was a real good call. Even you put it second on your list.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to make the same call here now in March.
Okay.
Because there won't be a better film than this. I mean, this is, you called it a masterpiece. I'll go on a limb and say that too. And I want to even go further and say this, that the Coen brothers, now if you look at Blood Simple, Raising Arizona, and Barton Fink, these guys are creating one fantastic original piece of work every single time. These guys deserve to be known with some of the finest directors that have worked in motion pictures. And there isn't a dull moment here. There isn't an unoriginal moment. They have a very precise way of dialogue that is accurate. It is the way people talk, as well as the speech pattern of, hey, yeah, and all that. They've got the words right,
They have the words exactly right. And you know what I liked, too, was the stylistic freedom they gave themselves. This is a very violent movie. It's a very funny movie. At the end, there's some poetry and some whimsy. There is stuff in this movie about the minutia of the routine of a long marriage. There is stuff in there about two partners that don't get along.
Father-in-law and son-in-law.
Oh, that's
my God.
And what about the son that goes off to McDonald's, gets up from the dinner table?
But listen,
I mean, there's just one detail after another.
They even have the accountant assistant to the big boss. I mean, that's very clever writing there. You know, a family business, and there's the loyal helper there who hates the son-in-law.
This movie has one treasure in it after another.
A great American movie.
Okay, coming up next, a new film about one of the most talked about figures of recent years, Heidi Fleiss, the Hollywood Madam.
I really was not expecting that verdict.
That's Heidi Fleiss herself, who had a lot more than 15 minutes of fame as the so-called Hollywood Madam, who provided women to some of the high and mighty in Tinseltown and went to jail for multiple counts of tax evasion and other crimes without opening her so-called black book of clients' names. Here's the way the film sets up Heidi's notoriety after she was busted.
Heidi was connected to the most powerful men in Hollywood who were now running scam. There were unsubstantiated rumors that she was on the Columbia Studios payroll. Top executives resigned. Hollywood was terrified.
The filmmaker is an aggressive British journalist, Nick Broomfield, who uses money and pluck to get to everyone, including Heidi herself, during the trial.
I've devoted 6 months of my life to this.
They're from the BBC.
6 months to Heidi?
Yeah. And we also meet the sinister Madam Alex, who died not long after this interview. She was the madam to the stars before Heidi took away much of her business.
That's where Heidi aired. And she'd kept a big secret. She would have been very successful. She was so flamboyant about it.
Flamboyant?
Oh, man, yes. She dropped names, she talked about people. You don't do that in this business, you know?
Maybe the creepiest character we meet is Yvonne Nage, a marginal film world player who was Heidi's lover and pimp and obviously maintained emotional control over her.
Because Alex then said, for example, that Yvonne would then drive you to the dates and expect you to... That he would then expect you to come back with the money.
Okay, so there's a lot of gossipy stuff in this picture and some high personal drama. But this film also raises an issue about the Los Angeles Police Department tolerating Madam Alex and Heidi in exchange for information about their clients. 3 strong characters and a mystery add up to a very fine documentary, and I do recommend Heidi Fleiss, Hollywood Madam.
Oh, I do too. In fact, as I watched this movie, I grew more and more fascinated because what Broomfield does is he cuts back and forth among these 3 key players, Heidi Fleiss, Madam Alex, and Yvonne Nage. And you find out there's a whole story here that he's not really saying out loud, but you can put it together for yourself.
Yes, you can.
And Heidi Fleiss, who has gone to jail, is basically the least guilty of all of these people, and Ivan Naj, who walked free, is basically the guy who's pulling all the strings. And at the end of the movie, after she knows that he has betrayed her, that he has turned her into the police, that she is going to jail, then on camera for Nick Broomfield, he makes a call to her and sweet talks her, and we can hear both sides of the conversation, and so that he wants to prove that he can still have his control over her. And then he smiles like this at the camera, and it's the portrait of the most incredible evil that I've ever seen in a documentary. This man who says, look, I destroyed her and I can still control her. What a snake.
Well, I don't know about the most incredible evil we've seen in a documentary.
Okay, I overspoke it just a little bit. One of. How's that? Okay.
Okay. When we come back, a young man seems to have a challenging future in chemistry in The Young Poisoner's Handbook.
Both horrifying and somehow darkly humorous, of Graham Young, a young man in England in the 1960s and 70s who poisoned a lot of people, starting with his stepmother, not because he disliked them really, but more because he got so caught up in his experiments. The movie stars Hugh O'Connor as the young poisoner who lives in a world of his own, and whose chemistry set is the most important thing in his life.
One of nature's most volatile substances. If treated incorrectly, it leaves the residue of a lethal poison. But Newton discovered that it could also be transformed, in the flask, into a diamond of breathtaking beauty.
Searching for guinea pigs to test his theories about an untraceable, undetectable poison, he starts out right at home. But he knows how to cover his tracks, as in this scene when he's confronted by classmates.
Again, I heard everyone in your streets come down with some bug or other. Right, you're going, you'll be the only bastard left in Neasden.
My mother died of a prolapsed bone at the top of her spinal column, Michael. She slipped whilst walking in the garden and it snapped, just like that. No bugs, Michael. No bugs mentioned here.
Eventually, he's caught and ends up in prison after a trial that was a British media sensation. But after 8 years, a psychiatrist decides he's cured, and Graham re-enters the world, still in the mood for more experiments, this time on his new co-workers.
Graham and that Deborah Dossie Mark Salmon Ronto. Graham and the Deborah Dossie Mark Salmon Ronto. Graham and the Deborah Dossie Mark Salmon Ronto.
Come on, Graham. They'll be frozen by the time I'm in.
The Young Poisoner's Handbook put me in mind of that famous George Orwell essay on the decline of the English murder. Too many people in modern times just shoot each other, Orwell said, instead of taking the time and trouble to be a little more original and inventive in their murders. He might have appreciated Graham Young, who was a monster, but also a serious, dedicated young man who stays at home working on his chemistry set instead of going out and getting in trouble like other boys.
Yeah, well, you know, the English have a great tradition, of course, of these very stylish, you know, quiet killers. I mean, 10 Rillington Place is a terrific, if people want to rent something in a related field, I think that was very good with Richard Attenborough, I believe. Yeah. You know, as we watch this, you know you're not supposed to like this picture, but you do like it because it's very, it is as dedicated to him as he was dedicated to his chemistry set. And in that basis, the film works and works very, very well. Coming up next, our video pick of the week, a great 20-year-old movie that makes Up Close and Personal look like a bad TV soap opera.
Week brought to you by Orville Redenbacher's Gourmet Popping Corn, the best part of the movies.
And now it's time for our video pick of the week, and my choice is a film that's 20 years old, but has more to say about television news in any 5 of its minutes than all of Up Close and Personal. Maybe any one of its minutes. The movie is Network, and the real star of the film is the forward-looking script by the late, great Paddy Chayefsky about a traditional anchorman, played by Oscar winner Peter Finch, who's been given notice after his ratings have declined.
We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Faye Dunaway has one of the juiciest roles ever for an actress, playing a brilliant ratings-driven executive who sees the Peter Finch character's anger as an audience lure. And she's right.
Did you see the overnights on the network news? It has an 8 in New York, a 9 in LA, and a 27 share in both cities.
Network is my video pick of the week. Rent it before you waste time on Up Close and Personal. At least that's my opinion. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. A split vote on Up Close and Personal. I thought it was lame and preposterous. Didn't like the love story. Roger bought the love story between Robert Redford and Michelle Pfeiffer. 2 thumbs down for Muppet Treasure Island, a big disappointment that will probably turn off your kids as much as yourself. 2 thumbs up, way up for Fargo, a brilliant black comedy about a pregnant police chief trailing a couple of killers across the Midwest. It's a masterpiece. 2 thumbs up for Heidi Fleiss, Hollywood Madam. And finally, 2 thumbs up for The Young Poisoner's Handbook, the effectively creepy story of an emotionally cut-off young man who poisons those near, if not dear, to him.
So Fargo is the one to look for in its opening in a week.
That's right. We just wanted to give you advance word about it. That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including The Birdcage with Robin Williams in a remake of the classic French farce, La Cage aux Folles.
You know everything because you're a man, and I know nothing because I'm a woman.
You're not a woman.
Also, Down Periscope, a seafaring comedy starring TV's Frasier, Kelsey Grammer. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Feel how fresh your breath can be when baking soda and peroxide combine in great-tasting Mentadent mouthwash.
What's for dinner? Gorton's grilled fillets, thick, white, and char-grilled. Try lemon pepper, Italian herb, and new garlic butter. Trust the Gorton's fishermen.
Before I started putting the adhesive on, the Super Polygrip, I couldn't eat the heroes. I couldn't eat the apples. I couldn't eat the nuts.
Hold your dentures super tight with Super Polygrip.
New Alpine Lace, fat-free turkey. No fat, no fat, no fat, no fat. No fat, no fat.